Welcome back.
No.
Peter, عطر، بسنت، رنا، معايا.
بعد الحصة بقى بعد الحصة.
Kelly, Uta, welcome all.
Hello, Mr.
Morning. بسنت. Amar. Okay. Okay. So let's go on. Let's complete. We stopped at line 57, I think. We'll start here. Two people, Danielle, Luigi. Enter. Okay. Okay. Lines 57, 58, sorry, to 58 to maybe 64. Okay. And yet my heart wanders away. My soul roams with the sea, the whale's home, wandering to the widest corners of the world, returning ravenous with desire, flying solitary, solitary, American English, screaming, exciting me to the open ocean, breaking out on the curve of a wave. Here in this stanza, we have a canning. Who can tell me where the canning is? What is a canning? Again, the use, sorry, of two words. Myrna, raise your hand. The use, wait, Myrna. The use of two words to express one thing, one meaning. Okay? If you know the answer, please put your hands up. If you know the answers, put your hands up. I have Myrna only. There is a canning, another canning, a third or a fourth canning in these lines from line 58 to line 64. Here there is a canning. The poet uses two words to express one thing. Who can give me the answer? I have Myrna, still Myrna only, okay. Okay, Myrna, go ahead.
Whale's home, he means the sea.
Whale's home, perfect. Instead of saying the sea, here he says the whale's home. What is whale's home, guys? It's the sea or the ocean. But here he says, my soul roams, you know roams, means wanders around with the sea which is called the whale's home. But this is another canning, We have many cannings here. Thank you, Myrna, thank you very much. Okay, so in this conclusion, because this is the end of the first part, some critics divide this poem into two parts, and line 64 is the end of the first part, in which the poet tells us how interested he is in sea life and its suffering, and compares it with life back in safety and earthly pleasures on the earth. He says, his mind and heart constantly yearn for the sea, long for the sea. He wants to go back and again to the sea. Okay, and there is a paradox of his excitement at the beginning of the poem, and which shows his acceptance of suffering to come. He accepts this suffering. He complains that he suffers a lot, suffers with the bad weather, suffers of loneliness, suffers of many things, but he yearns, he longs, he wants to go back and enjoy this suffering. This is, which is a paradox. You know, a paradox, two things are opposite in meaning, or the idea is opposite. He complains that he suffers, but still enjoys this suffering. He knows that he will be isolated and deprived, but he is driven to go on or resume his life at sea. And he breaks promises. He says here, to the open ocean, breaking oath. An oath is a promise that he will not go, and he promises his wife, his family, his kids, his friends that he's not going to go to the sea again because it's full of suffering. And again he breaks his oath and goes back to enjoy his wandering in the sea. And this is the end of the first part, because the second part, there is a shift. In the second part, he talks about the acceptance of God's destiny. You should accept God's decision and try to be a religious person, a pious person, and maybe get rid of all the earthly pleasures because they come to an end one day, and you'll go to the day after without anything, without a gram of or maybe an atom of gold with you. Let's move on to lines 64 here, or the rest of 64 to 68 here. Thus, the joys of God, here he starts to talk about God, okay? He didn't talk about God before. Are fervent with life, where life itself fades quickly into the earth. The wealth of the world neither reaches to heaven nor remains. No man has ever faced the dome. Again, thus the joys of God are fervent with life. God bestowed us with, gave us many earthly pleasures. Where life itself fades, these pleasures come to an end one day, quickly into the earth. The wealth of the world, all the money of the world, all the gold of the world, all the precious stones of the world, neither reaches to heaven nor remains. They all come to an end. Imagine that you are the richest person in the world. You have all the gold in the world. Then what? This comes to an end. You don't take a gram of this with you, right? No man has ever faced the door. Here the speaker announces the theme of the second section. What is the theme of the second section? The joys of accepting God's will. If you accept God's will, if you accept God's destiny, if you accept God's decisions, you will feel happy and you will enjoy the day after and you'll go to heaven. This joy, the joy of accepting God's will, far exceeds any form of wealth or earthly pleasure. Again, the theme of the second part is the joys of accepting God's will exceed any form of wealth on earthly pleasure, because earthly pleasure comes to an end. It fades like a flower that fades and withers. Earthly wealth cannot reach heaven. Tell me about a rich person in the past, or a king or a queen who took money with him to the day after, or after his or her death. Nor can it transcend life. Earthly wealth cannot transcend life. Once you die, everything dies with you. This section grows less personal. Instead of talking about himself and his suffering, in this section, beginning with line 64 or 65, he starts to become educational or religious, or he preaches us to be or to take the way of God, the path of God, not the path of earthly pleasure. I hope it's easy. I think it's easy, very easy. Let's move on to lines 69 to 72. Certain which of fate's three threats would fall, illness or age or an enemy's sword, snatching the life from his soul. The praise the living pour on the dead. Again, he says here, no man has ever faced the dawn, certain which of fate's three threats would fall. You, as a human being, do not know how you will die. You have three enemies that kill you all the time. Either illness, you die of a disease, a specific disease, or age because of old age. Once you get 80 or turn 80, 90, 100, okay, you'll die because of age if you don't have a specific disease to die of. Or an enemy's sword, or fight, or in the war. These are the poet gives us 3 reasons why we die. Snatching the life from his soul. One of these 3 enemies. These are the 3 enemies that threaten a human being's life. Again, illness, age or old age, or an enemy's sword or fight, or war. Yeah. In other words, war. Snatching the life from his soul, the praise the living pour on the dead. Let's move on to lines 73 to 81. Flowers from reputation. You get your pride in this world from your reputation. Plant an earthly life of profit tree, even from hatred and rancor of bravery. You get your pride in this world from the hatred and rancor. Rancor means hatred or grudge. You get by fighting one another, and you are victorious and you feel proud. All this will be flung in the devil's face. All of this is not necessary, because again, this is earthly pleasure that comes to an end. And death can only bring you earthly praise. And a song to celebrate a place in your funeral fire. People will sing around your body with the angels, life eternally blessed in the hosts of heaven. Once you are a religious person, this can bring angels to your funeral, and this way you are a pious or a religious person. This is what you should seek or look for, not the earthly pleasures of winning wars, because this all comes to an end again. The ideas are repeated again and again. The days are gone after you die, when the kingdoms of earth flourished in glory. Here the poet laments the old days when the kings used to be glorious, okay, and they used to give gold to their warriors. Let's move on to lines 82. Sorry, here he says, the days are gone when the kingdoms of earth flourished in glory. He talks about the old days, the days of yore. Y-O-R-E. The days of yore means the old days. Now there are no rulers. There are no such great kings, nor emperors, nor givers of gold. Again, kings in the past used to give their warriors pieces of gold, as once there were, when wonderful things were worked among them, and they lived in lordly magnificence. People were rich. There were kings and emperors who lived in magnificence, lived in style, who used to give their followers or subjects gold, diamonds, and such stuff. This all came to an end. The weakest survives. Now the weakest person survived. All those brave people die, and the world continues, and the world continues, kept spinning by toil, by hard work. All glory is tarnished. All glory comes to an end. All glory is spoiled. Okay? This is the idea. So he said that the days of the glory and honor have passed. He draws another picture in which he laments the lack of rulers, kings, emperors, givers, gold givers, and lords. The power of the nobles and aristocrats has vanished, has come to an end. Glory must be sought in other ways than through bravery in battle. It's through the path of God. The path of God. Let's move on to lines 89 to 95. The world's honor ages and shrinks. The same idea again and again. the world's honor, the world's pleasures, the world's riches, ages. It becomes old and shrinks and comes to an end. Bent like the men who mold it, like the men. Men themselves shrink and come to an end. Okay? This is maybe a picture he draws here. Their faces blanch, the faces of those men who established those glories and those honors and those pleasures. They themselves, those men, fade and wither like flowers. Their faces blanch, become white, blanche en français. As time advances, they become older and weaker. Their beards wither, their beards turn white, and they mourn the memory of friends. They mourn the memory of their maybe old days. The sons of princes sown in the dust, the soul stripped of its flesh, knows nothing of sweetness or sour, feels no pain. So the theme of the lost glory is continued again. The speaker or the poet here uses the simile of faded glory. He likens glory to an old man who fades or becomes old, like old men who remember their former youth, former days. The old men turn white, turn old, their beards grow thin and white, and they mourn the memory of departed companions, their friends who died before them, their kids, the sons of nobles, another idea, who formerly fought, rich people, aristocrats, to win glory in battle, are now dust on the ground. Where are the kings? Where are the kings who used to live? Where are the pharaohs? Where are the Caesars? Where are those people? Where are their kids? Where are the prince and princesses? Strong young men, beautiful women. All of them are now dust on the ground. We walk on their bodies because, and we will be like them one day. Okay, so this is the idea he wants to deliver here. Let's go on to line 96. Okay. Bends neither its hand nor its brain. After your body dies, after your soul leaves your body, you can never bend your hand or your brain. A brother opens his palms and pours down gold on his kinsman's grave. If a brother goes to the grave of his dead brother, okay, and fills it with gold, and his brother is sinful, he wouldn't be accepted by God. This gold will not save you. God will find your sinful soul, even if it is hidden under this gold. Okay? Again, he says here, a brother, where is it? A brother opens his palms and pours down gold on his kinsman's grave, strewing his coffin with treasures intended for heaven, but nothing golden shakes the wrath of God. If God is angry with this sinful soul, nothing will shake his wrath, will take his anger away. Okay? For a soul overflowing with sin, if your brother's soul is overflowing, is full of sin, this will not save it from God's anger and fury. And nothing hidden on earth rises to heaven. Nothing hidden on earth rises to heaven. The gold of the whole world, as we said before, all the gold in the world would not save a sinful soul from the anger of God. He focuses here on the spiritual aspect of life after death again, and how the soul knows no earthly comforts The soul removed from the body feels nothing. You can't even bend your hand. You can't even move your or think of anything, and cares nothing for fame. You no longer look for fame. You don't want to be famous anymore because you are simply dead and your body turned into ashes. The metaphor of a brother placing gold coins on his kinsman's coffin shows the uselessness of wealth and reputation to the dead. Put all the gold in the world with your with your dead brother, with the body of your dead brother. Would it be beneficial to him? No. The speaker or the writer writes that all earthly wealth and fame are meaningless. In the next word, the idea is repeated again and again. All earthly wealth and fame and pride, courage, everything are meaningless in the next world. God's anger against a sinful person cannot be reduced at any price. Give all the gold of the world. You can't reduce God's anger. So the poet urges all of us to heed the warning, to be careful, to remember this warning, not to get taken in by wealth and fame. Don't be dragged by or attracted by wealth and fame. Don't be proud of yourself. Don't be proud of your body, strong muscles. Don't say to yourself, I'm muscular, I'm stronger than anybody else, I'm famous. And no, try to please your God. This is the message. Try to please your God. This is the real happiness, because the real happiness is not here in this world. It's in the day after. It's in the other world. Okay? Let's move on to lines 102. Okay, the next stanza to maybe 7 here. Okay. Hidden on earth rises to heaven. He says here. Hello? Shall I mute you all? Be as respectable as you are, please. Thank you very much. He says, for a soul overflowing with sin, and nothing hidden on earth rises to heaven. The gold of the world, the diamond of the world, it doesn't rise to heaven. We all fear God. He turns the earth, he set it swinging firmly in space, gave life to the world and light to the sky. He talks about God here. Death leaps at the fools who forget their God. He who lives humbly has angels from heaven. The idea is death takes both the fools and the religious people. Angels, let's say, praise or like those who live humbly. Try to be a humble person. Don't be proud. Don't be proud of your money, of your health, of your, let's say, power. Be a humble person. Here the poet shifts to the final section of the poem. It's a very religious part. He writes that all fear God, because we all fear God, because he created the earth and the heavens, and God moves everything and controls everything on earth and in the skies, according to the poet. Of course, we all agree with this. Let's move on to lines 108. What's wrong? Yes, here. To 100, maybe 16. To carry him courage and strength and belief, a man must conquer pride. This is in the day after. You must conquer yourself. You must conquer your pride. You must defeat yourself. You will not be a strong person unless you defeat yourself, defeat your pride, not kill it. Be firm with his fellows chaste for himself, treat all the world as the world deserves, with love or with hate, but never with harm. Though an enemy seek to scorch him in hell, or set the flames of a funeral pyre under his Lord, faith is stronger and God mightier than any man's mind. Here the poet presents his final catalog, a list of lessons or commandments, some commandments to be learned by the humble person who fears his judgment day or the day after. According to the poet here, each wise person must be humble again and again, must be strong. Be strong, okay, no problem. You need to be strong to be able to live and find your way in this life. You need to be courageous. You need to be chaste. You need to be firm with your friends and never resort to violence. Be strong, okay, but never resort to violence, even if enemies seek to burn and destroy you. Okay, this is his opinion. The man who thinks about God will be comforted by angels. The man who thinks about God, the man who bears in mind that there is a God and this God needs to be pleased all the time, his orders need to be followed, will be comforted by the angels. We still have about the last line, sorry. We still have about 8 lines. Yes, here, sorry. Lines 117 to 122 first. Okay. Our thoughts should turn to where our home is. Our thoughts should turn to where our home is. Where is our home, guys? Where is our real home? I need an answer, please. If you can hear me, I have 20 participants now. Where do you think our real home is? Question again, where do you think is our real home? He says our thoughts in line 117. Our thoughts should turn to where our home is. Where is our home? Any answer? Okay. The poet wants to say that our real home is in heaven. Because as we said again and again, worldly or earthly pleasures come to an end. Well, where is your real home? It's in heaven. Our thoughts, where is it? Our thoughts should turn to where our home is. Consider the ways of coming there. You should think of how you can go to heaven by being religious, by obeying God and His orders. Then strive for sure permission for us to rise to that eternal joy. Make sure that you struggle to take permission to enjoy this eternal joy. It's an endless joy in heaven. That life born in the love of God. Life born in the love of God. You enjoy your life if you love God. This is real happiness. And the hope of heaven. When you have the hope to go to heaven, not to hell. Praise the holy grace of Him. Him is capitalized here because it refers to God, who honored us, eternal. He is eternal. He is endless, unchanging. He honored us, eternal, unchanging, creator of earth. Again, praise the holy grace of Him. Who here the poet ends his poem with a praise, something like a pray. Praise the holy grace of Him who honored us, eternal, unchanging creator of earth. Amen. It's like a pray. Here. The poet, let's say, admonishes that God and faith are more powerful than any person's will. And this is true. God and fate are more powerful than your will and my will. According to the poet here, people should always consider God's purpose and think of their final resting place in heaven, your home. You should think of your home in heaven. This is your real home, not your earthly home, because this home will be collapsed one day, will be demolished, will be very old, okay, will tarnish or will be spoiled by whatever. Here, the poet talks of the joys and love and hope that he feels await the faithful in heaven. There are, again, up in heaven, there are joys, love, and hope that he feels await the faithful people in heaven. And the last praise the holy grace of him again. Here, he ends in a prayer of praise to Allah or God, God the eternal creator of earth and its life. And the traditional ending here, Amen, raises the question about how, if at all, the concluding section connects or fails to connect with the more passionate emotional song of the forsaken seafarer taken to the inhospitable waves in the first section. Maybe this he prays, or it's like a conclusion to his suffering. He prays for God to save him from all this suffering, and he wants to say that the real life is the life in the day after. This is a quick, let's say, summary, or not very quick, a detailed summary of the poem. We focused on some kennings. We didn't talk about alliteration or assonance or other things in the poem. There are some words written in bold, in blue. You need to remember their meanings, and we studied them before. Remember admonish, remember sentinel, remember fervent. Fervent with life means full of life. Fervent with full of life. Rancor, rancor means simply grudge or hatred. Do we have any other words here? I don't think so. Okay, I'll end the session here, but I'll ask you first, if any of you has any question, please put your hand up. I want to make sure that you understand what I have said.
تمام يا مستر, we understand.
Really? Is it easy?
Yes.
It looks
Yes,
difficult, but
it's
it's easy. Okay, the idea is
It's
repeated
easy,
again and
but-
again, and we'll work on it later, inshallah. Also, we are not done with it yet, but I hope you understand the meaning of the written words. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
See you all tomorrow. Welcome, Matar. I'll
Right
end the
then.
session.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Mr.
goodbye.
Bye, Mr.
Okay, thank you very much. See you.